Hello and welcome back to SecureGate. Today, we're going to enable Multi-Factor Authentication, or MFA for short, on FortiGate Firewalls. We'll cover how to set up MFA for both admin accounts and VPN users. This additional layer of security is crucial in protecting your network from unauthorized access, and nowadays, it should be considered a mandatory security measure. If you're running a business, MFA on remote access and external facing devices is often a requirement for cyber insurance. Now, this video strictly covers just MFA, and we'll assume that you already have administrator accounts set up, as well as SSL VPN configured appropriately. So, let's get started. MFA for admin accounts. First, you want to log into your FortiGate management portal. Here, we can see we're already logged in. If we're using the GUI, we want to navigate to System, Administrators, and then you'll edit the admin account that you want to use. Now, I'm going to create a new one. And we'll just give it super admin. So here, we can assign two-factor authentication, but you'll notice that we can only do FortiToken Cloud and FortiToken. This is fine if you only have a couple administrator accounts. Every FortiGate will come with 2 FortiTokens for free. However, if you need more FortiTokens, you will have to purchase more. And we can also do email-based MFA. So I'm going to leave this turned off for now. And we're actually going to enable email-based MFA using the CLI. So up here in the top right corner, we will click on our CLI console. And let's go to config system admin. We can do a show to see all the administrator accounts. We're going to edit that new one we just created. So edit test. And we want to enable two-factor. So I'm going to hit tab here, set two-factor, and I'm going to do a question mark, which will show us all of the options. So we can see on the CLI we have a couple more options, email and SMS. So let's go ahead and enable email-based MFA, and then we just need to specify an email. I'm going to do this Gmail, and we'll do a next, and actually I'll do a show just so you can see the new results here. So we've added email to, and we've set two-factor authentication to email. Alright, so we'll do an end there to save and commit that, and then let's test it out. So I'm going to close out of here. We're going to log out of this admin account. Alright, so once you've entered in your username and password, you can see that here we have been sent an email message containing the token. Let me go ahead and pull that up here. And I can see it in my email. I'm just going to copy and paste. And I'm in. Now obviously this was a brand new administrator account that I created, so we can see our first time what's new in FortiOS 7.4. I'm just going to click don't show again and continue. So that's really it for administrator MFA. Now a quick note is that you should always make sure you have at least one administrator account that is not protected by MFA, or at least you've thought about it very carefully. Best practice would be to consider having what's known as a break glass account, meaning it's not MFA protected and you can get into it in the event that you need to in an emergency, just in case your SMTP server isn't functioning or just MFA isn't functioning. Now, to harden that, you can use trusted hosts and only allow that login from specific IPs. Okay, let's move on to MFA for VPN users. The process is similar to admin accounts. In the GUI, we'll go to users and authentication, user definition, and I don't have a whole lot going on for this FortiGate, but I did create a test user that we'll just play around with. If we go to edit that account, we can see that I already have SSL VPN configured. I have a group for SSL VPN. The purpose of this video is not to go over how to set up SSL VPN. It's already assuming that you already have it set up. We're just covering the MFA hardening piece. So we'll enable two-factor authentication. We'll see the same thing as when we did the administrator accounts. We have FortiToken Cloud and FortiToken as options. And again, 2 FortiToken licenses are available per FortiGate. If that's not enough, you'll need to purchase more, or you can use some other MFA solution, Duo, Microsoft Authenticator, anything, pretty much anything with Radius or SAML, you'll be able to use. You can also use email-based MFA and SMS. Now, we can see here in the GUI, we only get FortiToken. Again, let's go to the CLI and look at what other options are available here. So for VPN users, we want config user local. You can do a show to see everything, so we can see our 2 user accounts. We're going to edit that test user. Again, you could do a show to see everything for that user. We want to set, and I'm going to do a question mark here just so you can see all of the options. There's going to be a few, but we only need a couple of these, so we want two-factor, and again a question mark to see all the options. We'll do email, and then we just want to set that email to, and I'm just going to use the same email. In the real world, in a business environment, this would be the email address of that individual user. We got a little notification up here in the top right that our entries have changed since the last load. That's just because I made changes through the CLI. But we're done in the CLI, so we can hit close there. We'll just do a reload, and we can see two-factor authentication has been updated. If we go into this user, we now see this extra button where we can pick email-based two-factor authentication, and it's already selected because we did that in the CLI. Okay, a couple quick notes. If you're using email-based MFA, by default, it will use Fortinet's SMTP. If you'd like to change this, you can navigate to System Settings, and somewhere in here there is an option for SMTP. Yep, down here under Email Service. So we can see these are the default settings. If you have your own SMTP server, feel free to just customize your settings here, but we're not going to go into that. And again, FortiToken is kind of what Fortinet pushes for MFA. FortiGates can also work with numerous other vendors, Duo, Microsoft, like I mentioned earlier, anything with Radius or SAML. You can also use hardware tokens. A quick reminder to like and subscribe if you're finding this content helpful. Be sure to drop a comment if you have any questions or would like to get in touch. But let's get back to the video. We're going to talk a little bit about enforcing MFA, okay? So we've enabled MFA for a couple of accounts, but we really want to make sure that nobody's logging in without MFA. So to make MFA mandatory, there's a couple of different ways to approach this. One is to target SSL VPN users. And this has to be done using the CLI. It's kind of a hidden setting, not available in the GUI. So to target SSL VPN users, we will go into config VPN SSL settings. And again, you can do a show to see everything that is currently set. You can also do a get to see all of the settings that are available. But what we're really looking for is that set force. Oops. A little slow there. Set force two-factor auth. So that's what we want. And then I'm going to do a question mark just to see the options. But there's only 2, so we want to just enable that and then end. Okay, so that only targets VPN users. Now, my personal preference is to make MFA mandatory just across the board for administrators and user accounts. And to do that, it is a global setting that we're looking for. So we want to do config system global and then set multi-factor authentication. And again, the only options are optional and mandatory, so we want to make mandatory. Enforce all login methods to require an additional authentication factor. So I just set that. We'll do an end to save it. Really, the difference is that setting we just did is a global setting that impacts all accounts. The first one that we talked about under the VPN settings, really just for those SSL VPN users. Let's do another quick demonstration. Unfortunately, I can't really test SSL VPN user login with the way that my lab is set up. We're going to log into our new administrator account that we've set up with MFA. And we can see that it's prompting for an MFA token. So I'm going to copy and paste that over from my email. And we're in. So let's talk about some best practices. Really, you want to remember to keep an administrator account without MFA, or at least have one option that you are confident will always be available. And make sure it's protected by trusted hosts, typically known as your break glass account. Okay, you only use that in the event of an emergency. Also be aware that email-based MFA is considered less secure than other methods. So in a business environment, email-based MFA probably isn't going to be preferred. Another thing to consider is using hardware tokens when possible. Okay, so that really wraps up our tutorial on enabling MFA, multi-factor authentication for FortiGate admin and SSL VPN users. By implementing MFA, you are significantly enhancing your network security. And remember, in today's threat landscape, passwords alone are often not enough. Thank you for watching, and don't hesitate to implement MFA in your environment. Stay secure.